but we have a very good chance of getting there.
President coming out of his meeting with Vladimir Putin today, believing that great progress was made in Eastern European peace talks. So where do we stand now? Let's bring in retired Navy Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery, along with national security and military analyst Rebecca Grant. Thank you both for coming on. Admiral, I want to play a soundbite because I thought it was interesting. This is General Jack Keane. He said this before the summit, and I want to see if you think that it rings true. Watch.
President Trump is going to see what Putin has to say and what kind of concessions he's willing to really make here, and are they real? Or is he just going to filibuster him like he's done before, with a lot of words, a lot of promises that he doesn't keep, and a lot of flattery about the president?
Do you get the feeling that is kind of what happened, Admiral?
I do. I think General Keene's spot on. I think that the president showed good discipline during this meeting. He did not try to charge off into a deal before we had a ceasefire. No deal should have come out of today because Russia has not committed to a ceasefire before today. So I think the president showed good discipline there. And if I could mention one other thing, I think the president, by giving Putin this visit, he extended to him a diplomatic olive branch by flying the B-2 and F-35 over him simultaneously. He took a little of the icing off that cake for Vladimir Putin. So I think there was some good narrative, some good signaling there, and then I think the president showed good discipline.
I found, Rebecca, this comment from Putin to be interesting because he's not talking about today. He's actually talking about a future relationship with the United States. Listen to him.
I expect that today's agreements will be the starting point, not only for the solution of the Ukrainian issue, but also will help us bring back business-like and pragmatic relations between Russia and the U.S.
I mean, he's talking about the future, but everybody knows if there's no deal, there's no future. So does that give you a little bit more confidence, or what do you think?
He went through a whole list of business relationships, space cooperation, the Arctic, nuclear weapons, you name it. I think some of it's distraction, but some of it is Putin signaling that he's willing to take some of this economic deal being crafted by Lutnick and Bessent and by the others. And of course, that will be the carrot for him to agree to a ceasefire. I think President Trump is playing his cards very close to the vest. It's clear there's a delicate deal in the works. They made some headway, but that next meeting with Putin and Zelensky, that is going to be a big lift.
Yeah, it really is. And on that note, Trump says that it really is up to President Zelensky. He phrased it this way, Admiral, and I'll get your response.
There's no deal until there's a deal. I will call up NATO in a little while. I will call up the various people that I think are appropriate, and I'll, of course, call up President Zelensky and tell him about today's meeting. It's ultimately up to them.
I mean, you kind of piece that together with the president saying earlier there, most of the things we agreed on. There was one significant thing we didn't agree on. It seems like that significant thing is how much land swap there's going to be, how much territory is going to be ceded. I mean, that seems like it's what this whole thing comes down to, sir. Is that correct?
I think that's a lot of it. I will say that Zelensky has to very diplomatically and delicately, with his European partners, remind the president that Russia is the one that won't commit to a ceasefire right now. So the president has to come out of this summit and go back to putting Russia on the clock for secondary sanctions on India and China, and consider a greater range of weapons that he allows Europe and Ukraine to buy, maybe some offensive weapons from our systems. That's the kind of pressure that will get Putin to the table, and we can have a serious discussion, one that may include eventually land swaps.
Yeah, I think it's a very good point. Meantime, you had President Trump talking with Sean Hannity after the summit, Rebecca, and he was talking about the next summit, the trilateral summit.
They're going to set up a meeting now between President Zelensky and President Putin. And myself, I guess, I didn't ask you about it. Not that I want to be there, but I want to make sure it gets done. And we have a pretty good chance of getting it done.
He was also asked to grade today's summit. He called it a 10 out of 10. Doesn't know if he really wants to be part of the trilateral. I think he probably will be. What do you think about the trilateral? When they get there, it seems like that it's close to being a done deal.
Well, what a great interview, because that is the key point, getting Putin and Zelensky together. And Trump said in that same interview that, you know, maybe he didn't have to do the secondary sanctions, but I agree with the Admiral. He's got to really keep that pressure on Putin and not let it drift into days or weeks until this meeting is set up and that big issue, whatever it is resolved. I'd like to see those secondary sanctions drop tonight.
Yeah, Lindsey Graham was saying Christmas. If everything goes well, we can have this thing settled by Christmas. Too long, Rebecca?
It's a possibility. I think they can get it by then, but Trump has to keep the pressure on.
Rebecca, Admiral, thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've heard congresswomen call our ICE agents terrorist organizations, attack them, people doxing them.
Well, coming up, DHS